Each of these mistakes have literally cost me years of my life. So don't take this as just that other YouTube video. Take this advice to heart. Do you ever wish you had a DeLorean so that you can go back in time to give your former self some good, hard-earned advice?
Marty! You've got to come back with me!
I bet you do, because I feel the same way. Hi, I'm Michael, and over the last decade, I have made so many mistakes in my life. I have learned how to overcome depression, how to rebuild confidence, how to rebuild my self-esteem, and how to go from literally a 1 out of 10 level to probably like a 7 or an 8 right now. So what I want to do in this video is share with you 3 lessons that I would go back in time for to tell my 15-year-old self. Albert Einstein once said that a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a genius learns from the mistakes of others. So let me share with you these 3 pieces of advice so that you can be that genius today. Number 1, my biggest flaw ever since I was like little is that I always was way too impatient. And sometimes I even need to remind myself today of this fact. So I know you have heard this advice 1,000 times before. Just be patient, yada, 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 right? However, let me tell you where it messed up. When I was like 18 years old, I got into online business for myself. Back in the day, it was mostly blogging, but YouTube was just coming up as a social media platform. And what I realized in hindsight was that I was doing the right things. I was writing articles every week or maybe 2 a week. Every once in a while I was doing some videos. But I was way too impatient with waiting for the results. So my blog was getting like 3 or 4 visitors a day. My YouTube videos were getting like a few dozen views each. But they were like going like this. And in hindsight, what I realized was that I was on the right track. But if I had continued for 2 years instead of 6 months after which I quit, it would have been tremendously successful. And this was over a decade ago when there was not so much competition. But because I gave up too early out of impatience, I never get to cash in on that trajectory, on that trial and error. So don't fall victim to that same mistake that I did. You don't want that. I once heard, I think it was Tai Lopez, who said, you can have anything you want in life, but remember that whatever you're trying to achieve is going to take 6 to 24 months longer than you expected to take. Not 6 to 24 months total, 6 to 24 months longer. If you can on a daily basis put in the work like it's your last chance, but on the long run, realize that it's going to take years to achieve anything that's big. If you do that, you will have a solid foundation with which you can be patient. Because if you're doing the right things for long enough, it will pay off. And there's one caveat to this, which I'll come to later. So make sure you watch this video until the end. And by the way, if you have some good advice that you would give your past self, leave me a comment with that advice below this video. Do you ever feel frustrated with personal development content that just isn't practical? It only motivates you, but it doesn't give you actionable steps to move forward with your life. What if you could get practical and actionable lessons on building your confidence, on being more productive, and on building a great mindset for success? Twice a week, I send out a newsletter where I share these kinds of actionable lessons that I had to learn the hard way. So if you want to take your life to the next level, click the link below this video. Subscribe to my newsletter and you will get those actionable steps to reach your next level in life. And now back to the main video. So let's move on to the second thing. This goes back to my days when I was being bullied on a daily basis. It completely destroyed my self-esteem. It completely destroyed my confidence. I felt terrible about myself. And as a result, I became depressed. what I didn't realize about bullying back then. And the same goes for online trolls, people who spread hateful comments, people who just bash others, is that those people are coming from an extremely dark place. So with bullying, people start with doing that, oftentimes because they themselves feel insecure, because they don't want to be a victim. Someone who gets behind the keyboard and writes mean things to other people, that person is hurting inside. Because think about it like this. If you were 100% happy, you are living your dream life, would you have the need to go out of your way to make other people feel worse about themselves? Of course you wouldn't. And so the only people who engage in this kind of behavior are those who are in a dark place themselves. So with regards to this, I would tell myself two things. Number one, realize this. Realize that it's not about you, in this case my former self, or you watching this video. When you get a ton of hate, don't feel bad for yourself. Feel bad for them. So I remember one time, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, I made a post on Reddit. And most of the comments were extremely positive. But there was this one guy who basically told me to put on blinders and walk in front of traffic. Ouch, right? But then I realized this, that you know what? This person is hurting inside. So rather than saying, oh, you're such a stupid asshole, I was like, I know you're going through a lot. If you want to talk, like, I'm here. I never got a response, but at least I was able to put it into perspective because of this. And once you are able to realize that it's mostly because of them, not because of you, you can let a lot of things just like slide to the side, like fall off your shoulders, basically. And that burden of being bullied, of getting mean remarks, that starts meaning less and less and less. Because a few years ago, even when I was being told to basically go and kill myself, that was like, I shrugged it off after like a few minutes. So that's the first thing. But secondly, it's about you, my friend. Meaning, everybody else is going to give you some kind of crap once you stray off a path. I believe it was Alex Hormozy who said that people want you to be successful, just not more successful than they are. Because once you become more successful than them, it means that they have to realize that they are not living up to their potential either. So what I would tell my former self in regards to this is to realize that my path, what I had in my mind, it was the correct way. Don't let other people dissuade you from walking a path that I know is right for me. Just like you already know, don't you? You are here because you want to have more. So don't let other people tell you that your way of living is wrong. If people tell you that your work-life balance is completely off center, doesn't matter if it's balanced to you. And if that means 80% work and 20% the rest of the stuff, perfect. If that means 50-50, perfect. If that means you work very little because you don't require a lot of material stuff and you have a lot of spare time to spend with friends or out in nature, that's perfect as well. But don't let other people's opinions like drag you away from what you already know is the right path for you. And once you do that and you just push the opinions of other people to the side, now you can start living your life. Because once you are influenced all the time by other people's opinions, you start living their lives, not your own. If you become so overwhelmed by trying to impress other people with your actions, your choices, your life, then who are you really doing it for? Are you doing it for you or are you doing it for them? It is time to stop living a lie. That's what I would tell my former self. But even with those two pieces of advice, of being more patient and just doing what I knew I should be doing, that still would not be enough. Because what I have realized over the years is that the amount of effort I was putting in was like here, whereas this is what's required to get to a next level. So even back when I was like 18 or 20 years old and I was trying my side hustle, I was putting in the work, and at some days I felt like, yeah, I'm doing fantastic. Like this is a 10 out of 10 day. But now a decade later, I realized that what I thought was a 10 out of 10 in reality is a 3 compared to who I am now. So there is always a higher level. Keep pushing yourself, because oftentimes we vastly, myself included, underestimate how much effort goes into achieving something big. If you just want to have like an average life, go for it. Anyone can literally do that. However, if you want extraordinary success, which is probably why you are here, then go and 10x your results. Every day try to push yourself just a little bit further. And then a little bit further still. And a little bit further still. And once you do that, once you focus on consistent small improvements, the concept that the Japanese call Kaizen. Once you focus on those improvements, what you will find 6 months from now is that your average is going to be 5 times better than your grade was a year ago. That is the difference that it makes once you actually give it your all. So that is crucial. And then as a bonus tip related to this, what I would also tell my former self is to experiment more. Meaning, once I started doing things, and I'm sure you realize this as well, your mind wants to do things the same way over and over again, because it saves you a lot of your brain power and it makes it a lot easier. Your mind loves that. Success, on the other hand, does not. So you will want to try things in a different way, try new approaches, like aim for the same goal, but try to go about it in different ways. And once you attack a problem from multiple angles, you have a way better chance at actually making it work. Think about it like a colony of bees. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this, but once for example, if the colony, the hive is over here, and I find a great source of food over here, what I do is I send 80% of workers to that source and they just go in between constantly to gather as much food as possible. However, the other 20%, they will fly off in all different directions to find a new, possibly better source of food. You want to be the same with your productivity, with your efforts as well. If you know that this thing over here works, focus a lot of your time and effort on that. But at the same time, try a new experiment here and there. Try a different approach and see, does this improve my results or make them worse? And if it improves the results, you make that part of your 80% and then you run a new experiment. This way you don't get stagnant like I have done for years. Each of these mistakes have literally cost me years of my life and potential because I didn't live up to who I was meant to be. So don't take this as just that other YouTube video. Take this advice to heart. That's what I would urge my former self, and that's what I would urge you as well. And if you like this video, give it a quick thumbs up and then watch the video on the right here to learn how to build better habits into your life.